I thought it was going to become better than what it eventually was.
It's just not good.
Madness or sanity? I don't know which is which.
Let's scare Jessica to death.
Welcome to Kyle and Dave vs. the Machine, a video edition. Today, on this very day, on Friday, we are talking about a horror film called Let's Scare Jessica to Death, a instrumental horror film of the 1970s that would go on to inspire a bunch of other people. Does it hold up by itself? Dave, what do you think?
No, sorry, no.
Great. I also kind of agree in that I don't think it entirely holds up, although I liked it way more than Dave did. There's elements that I enjoy. I know Dave disagrees about the performances, but I did like the performances. I liked how it plays with your expectations of like vampire fiction. There's enough subtext with hippies and the occult and stuff like that I found interesting and intriguing. Is it a home run? No, I don't think so. I don't think it elevates itself enough to be considered in the pantheon of like the greatest horror films of all time.
Is it
but
a sac fly?
It. What?
A sacrifice fly?
A sacrificial fly. So I guess that's our video here this week.
I was just running.
Is there any elements
metaphor
that you enjoyed, Dave?
No, not really. It's not $1 million duck. It is not a garbage fire. It's just not good.
It's a cheap film. Like you can tell that it was made very cheaply.
I think because I'm not couched in horror movie fandom, horror movie history, this idea of giving this movie value for what its eventual influence on the genre was going to be, I think it's a bullshit argument. As a film itself, even as a low budget movie, it's just a weird movie to watch. You know, when they show up and they're not chalking.
Etchings.
She hangs pictures of trees.
It's actually pure lead she's using.
Actually, it might
probably
have been.
is.
By the end of the movie, I just found I was irritated more than enjoying it. But I will give you this much credit. I was more irritated than I was bored. I didn't bring that phrase up in the audio, but that's actually, maybe that's the best way to put it. I found it more irritating than boring. As
I was telling Dave, because Dave does not watch horror films, I had to fill in a lot of this context from my own opinion and my own movie watching, but this reminded me a lot of what A24 is currently making, or at least A24 and A24 adjacent films like Hereditary, Midsommar, The Witch. Like that is kind of the vibe that this movie gave to me, which is like something happens at the beginning and then there's a long stretch of really nothing happening. They're just setting context, and then, oh my gosh, something is happening here again. It does play around with that unreliable narrator protagonist a little bit.
Go back to New York for a while. You can see your doctor.
Is this all in her head, or is this actually happening to her, which I liked? And there's a not so subtle like lesbianism subtext to this movie that I think is there, which is true for a lot of vampire fiction. We here at Kyle and Dave vs. the Machine are all about gay rights, especially when it's lesbian vampire rights. So we are pro lesbian vampires.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Straight man, bisexual man. I just want to be very clear here.
Well, we love everything and everybody, and people should be allowed to do whatever the fuck they want.
What a bullshit statement. We actually love everybody.
If your thing is to
maybe you should run for
blood,
the Conservative Party of Canada. Everyone can be in our tent.
Everybody who's a hetero white male can sit in our tent, as long as you're Christian. Politics.
How about the comedy elements of the movie, Dave? Did those work for you?
No, I didn't know that there were comedy elements in it until we did the backstory and turned out this was written as a comedy.
Yes.
And you can't tell. It's not
I do
funny.
think there is a scene with an antiques dealer that I actually do find pretty humorous, and I love that part of the movie. I agree that you can see this bit of inconsistency in the movie, because when you realize that it started as one thing and then the director came in and kind of rewrote it, there is certain elements that just don't seem to go together very well. I wish that it did push more into that realm. Let's explore the end of the hippie movement and why that didn't work out really well in conjunction with this woman who is contesting with, like, is she losing her mind, or is she seeing stuff that's actually real? Like, there's all this stuff there that I think could have been a really interesting exploration of like character and theme, and it's sort of there, but it never elevates itself to be, I think, one of the greats.
We will talk a little bit about hippies, which is something we probably should have spent more time all year, because this is definitely towards the end of the height of that movement. There's a growing up process. I will put an infographic, as we talked about in the episode, with the evolution of the Beatles, where pure idealism has now succumbed to cynical, realistic problems of trying to survive in a capitalist society in America. And this movie allegedly was originally written to sort of poke, fun at, but to satirize the direction the movie was going. You don't really see it, of course, because it's not like they co-wrote it together. I think They took the script. The director decided the only way he'll do it is if he can rewrite the whole thing. So it's a big miss there.
Yeah, the original name of this movie was It Drinks Hippie Blood. So like that's the kind of tone that this was originally going to be.
Would have worked.
I know Dave is fairly negative on this. I had some positive things to say. There were some things that didn't work for me, which is too bad. I was actually really looking forward to watching this movie, to be honest. I thought it was going to become better than what it eventually was. Not a total loss in my eyes. Listen to our full episode anywhere you get podcasts. We do talk a lot about the hippie movement, but also like some of the history of vampire fiction and how this sort of fits in to 70s horror in general. And we're going to continue to be scared throughout the month of October.
Kyle puts his mark that Tom Cruise is gay. So
allegedly, but probably allegedly.
Copyright strike, right? It's not even about copyright at this point.
Apparently, the Church of Scientology said you have to take this video down.
Actually, that might happen. We'll have to be careful how we phrase this thing. I'm sure.
Hey, Church of Scientology, go fuck yourselves. Tom, we would love you to be a guest on our podcast anytime that you want.
I'm trying to think of the Magnolia scene. This movie's on Blu-ray. We don't know why, so go watch it or not. It doesn't matter.
It's also available on iTunes, YouTube. There's a bunch of places. It's probably actually advertised right next to our video right now, I'm going to guess.
The more we say, let's scare Jessica to death. Actually, it's kind of like a Ouija board. Or no, Candyman. If we keep saying Jessica over, will she appear?
She will. And then she'll drown you, or try to.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Actually, no, she's not trying to do the drowning. She is being drowned.
Yeah, the other woman.
The girl.
Isn't the girl the one with the scarf? This movie sucks.
That's the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's it.